Welcome to this Q30 Sports Men's Ice Hockey Season Preview. I'm Rob Ciambra. We're joined today on the phone by college hockey news writer Josh Seguin. Josh, appreciate you joining us today.
As always, I appreciate being on.
All right, Josh, let's get right into this. I want to talk about, we're going to start off with a little bit of Quinnipiac talk. We'll talk about the preseason coaches poll in the ECAC. The Bobcats are ranked 4th by the coaches, but 2nd by the media. There's obviously a little bit of difference in that. What does the media see in the Bobcats that the coaches don't?
I just think they have less weaknesses than, say, a Harvard and a St. Lawrence. St. Lawrence graduated a bunch of great leaders last year. I mean, yes, Quinnipiac graduated, Dan Federico and Matt Pekka, but I think those two teams graduated a lot more. So, I mean, let's not question Harvard at this point either, because they have one of the best forward groups coming into the season that the ECAC has seen at some time. The worries I have with them are all on their defense and goaltending. And we know how important those are. And you look at Quinnipiac's roster with the players they have returning, I think their defense and goaltending is a little bit better. And I think that's the difference between what the media sees and what the coaches see.
Now, you mentioned the Bobcats are losing Matt Pekka and Dan Federico this year. How big of a loss is that for the Bobcats?
Matt Pekka was probably, as Rand Pecknold says, probably one of the best players ever play at Quinnipiac. He's a huge loss. He did the little things that probably didn't get as much accolades as some of the other really offensive players. He contributed to offense. He only had 5 goals last year, so he probably was left out in a lot of ballots that he probably should have been a part of. But the thing with Matt Pekka is he played a lot of minutes. He did the little things that you need to do to be successful, and the Tampa Bay Lightning are really impressed with him, based on what I've been reading. So he's a huge loss. And, Federico played a lot of minutes as well. But I think based on the talent that Quinnipiac has on their back end with Connor Clifton and Alex Baran and Minor that just got a waiver, and Devin Tays, those guys, that's a pretty solid top 4 that Quinnipiac has. So I think that loss will be filled a little easier.
And you mentioned Baran, who originally wasn't supposed to return, but he is now. He's just got to miss the first 5 games after going to the NCAA, trying to actually play a 4th year after he wasn't originally going to because of his junior's career. But how big of a return is that for Pecknold and the Bobcats?
Experience is always a good thing. You look at the things that Rand does, that some of the other coaches in the league does. He gets a lot of the players that, they have experience. He looks for that. Alex Baran, he's a solid player. He's played 3 years on defense. Defense is a very hard position to learn in hockey. And having experience back there is a great thing. You also look at the goaltender. You also brought in, Chris Chuel from Air Force. He just looked for experience, and those kind of players are invaluable to a team. And I think, as you've seen in the last few years, that's been one of the ways that Quinnipiac has, built itself on that experience and bringing in players that know the game.
All right, let's take a look at the freshmen that Pecknold has brought in. Obviously, it's a huge loss losing Federico and Pekka. What freshmen or a couple of freshman players do you expect to step up early on for the Bobcats?
Talking to Rand a few weeks ago, I don't think he expects there to be an impact player, and he doesn't know which one will step up. But one of the things that Rand has done over the years is that he always has 1 or 2 guys that come in the freshman class that really, show up on the scene. You look at the Sam Annis a few years ago. You Landon Smith last year. So somebody's going to step up, but I think pointing and saying this guy is going to be the guy is a very difficult thing to do, because every player adjusts to college hockey different. You look at the 3 best recruits that came into the ECAC last year. All 3 of them were Brown. Tyler Bird, Sam Lafferty, and Matt Wilman. None of really performed right away. So it's just tough in the ECAC to come in as a freshman. So I think asking a freshman to fill a big role right away is very difficult.
All right, let's look around the ECAC now. Who are the biggest threats in the ECAC to the Bobcats this year?
Oh, I mean, Yale. Just look at what Yale has. I mean, Yale sometimes struggles against Quinnipiac at times, but they're loaded. There's not many losses on their schedule for them. Their defense is untouched in college hockey. They were the number one defense last year. They were returning almost all their forwards. They were returning all but one defenseman. And, there's that guy, Alex Baran, in the net that, is probably the best goaltender by far in college hockey. So that's a team that will cause trouble. Harvard could cause a lot of problems for a lot of teams. Like I said, they have one of the more talented forward groups coming into the season, probably in the last decade of the ECAC hockey, with Jimmy Vesey, Kyle Criscolo, Alex Kerfoot. They're even adding, Coach Donato's even adding his son, Brian Donato, who's supposed to be a stud freshman that comes in and makes a huge impact. So they have names. St. Lawrence is going to be there too. And, but what I would want people to look for is there's a couple teams I think might surprise. I mean, you look at a Clarkson to me that returns literally all but one player. They're bringing in the class of 4 because they only lost one player to graduation. That the experienced teams tend to do well in the ECAC. Colgate has a very short roster, so they may or may not be as high as 5th, but I would expect them to be there as well. Then another team, Brown. We all know the troubles Brown has given Quinnipiac over the years. The one team that maybe Quinnipiac shouldn't struggle against, but they have in the past, I think they're going to finish higher than 11th in both polls. And, you just look at, like I said, I mentioned those 3 freshmen earlier that are now sophomores. And they're returning others and adding key pieces, and they're recruiting them very good. So they're another team that I would think might end up better.
All right, and let's end with the Bobcats again. How far do you think the Bobcats can go this year?
Well, I mean, I'm totally expecting them to win the regular season title, right? I mean, that's all they do. They they're always there at the end of the year. They're definitely a roster built on defense. They have great possession. Those teams do well. That's plain and simple. Those teams do well. They play to a system, and it works. And judging otherwise and saying they're not going to go as far as they have in the last few years would just be elementary in my eyes, because I have them second in my media poll. So I think they're going to be very good. They have less weaknesses than every other team in the league, in my opinion. And this is something I've kind of noticed while doing my preseason stuff. And even Yale has, they might have had possession, but they struggled to score. The only difference between them and Quinnipiac last regular season was that Quinnipiac was able to find the back of the net more. So those teams tend to do very well. So you have to expect them to go pretty far.
All right, Josh, thank you for coming on today. Really appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime, guys.
All right, that's Josh Seguin of College Hockey News. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Q30 Sports and visit our website at Q30television.com. That does it for this men's hockey preview. I'm Rob Ciambra.